Good afternoon, everybody, from the Senelec Management Center in Brussels, and welcome to our 6th webinar for standard drafters. My name is Sophie Vandrich, and I'm working in the standard publication unit as an editor, and I will be presenting this webinar with my colleague Frédéric Dufour.
Hello, my name is Frédéric Dufour, and I'm here to talk to you about the subject which Sophie is going to introduce right now.
This webinar is covering three major topics: patent rights, annexes, and bibliography.
To begin with, let's crack on with patent rights, the first issue. To begin with, you may ask yourself, well, what is a patent exactly? To begin with, a patent has to do with intellectual property, as shown by this illustration. In Senelec Guide 8, a patent is defined as a temporary, limited legal right granted to an inventor by public authorities to prevent others from manufacturing, selling, or otherwise dispose utility models and other statutory rights based on his invention, including any applications for any of the foregoing. So, if patent rights are mentioned in a deliverable, there is need of a statement and licensing declaration. This statement and licensing declaration is to be filled in by the patent holder and sent back to us at TCMC at our production address, production@senelec.eu. This declaration you may find at the end of the Senelec Guide 8, Senelec Guidelines for Implementation of the Common Policy on Patents. Or you may also find it individually on the Senboss, under the name Senelec Statement and Licensing Declaration Form. How are patent rights to be pointed out in a deliverable? Well, if patent rights are mentioned in a deliverable, the introduction has to be worded just like the template here, which please let me make it appear. You can see that the template of an introduction regarding patent rights, and you may find the corresponding template in the Internal Regulations Part 3 in clause F3. At the end of the introduction, you can see a link to the list of patent rights on our website, and this list will be kept up to date. Now, if you want to have more information regarding patent rights, please, and in particular regarding more technical aspects, please see the intellectual property rights and patents section on our Senelec website. Here, you can go indeed on the IPR and patents section on the Senelec Command Portal. Now, in most of our deliverables, there are no patent rights, so that in the European forward, the following paragraph would be added by the editor in charge. Attention is drawn to the possibility that some of the elements of this document may be the subject of patent rights. Senelec and/or Sen shall not be held responsible for identifying any or all such patent rights. Regarding special national conditions, well, what is a special national condition? According to the Internal Regulations Part 2, Common Rules for Standardization Work, a special national condition is a national characteristic or practice that can't be changed even over a long period. For instance, climatic conditions, electrical earthing conditions. One fine example of this are, for instance, temperatures falling under -40 degrees for prolonged periods in certain countries, which may have an impact on, let's say, the thickness of pipes. These special national conditions may only appear in normative annexes, as these conditions aren't subject to changes. These are also available on projects online whenever they exist in a given deliverable. Where can I find the template for an annex about special national conditions? Indeed, special national conditions have to be covered by an annex, and to create this annex and to draft it, you may either use the STD template, which will give you the right annex layout and styles, and to this effect you may refer to our webinar number 2 in the same series. You may use the STD template or refer to the wording contained in the Internal Regulations Part 3 in clause CB1. Here in this template you can see the definition I just gave for a special national condition, and more generally speaking, this is the template for a special national condition annex, and you will have to indicate very clearly the concerned clause and special national condition. Regarding A deviations, what is an A deviation? An A deviation, in the terms of the Internal Regulations Part 2, Common Rules for Standardization Work, is the modification of, addition to, or deletion from the content of an EN and harmonization document, for SNLEC sometimes, reflecting a national situation due to regulations the alteration of which is for the time being outside the competence of the SNLEC national member. For instance, this may be for a national legislation that affects the implementation of a given deliverable. These A deviations may only appear in informative annexes because they are for general information. Where can I find the template for an annex? As for special national conditions, you may use the STD template, which will give you the right annex layout and styles, or use the following template in the Internal Regulations Part 3. Now, please bear in mind that there are two possible templates, whether the concerned deliverable is made under an EU directive or not. If the concerned deliverable is made under an EU directive, please use the template given in clause ZB21 in the Internal Regulations Part 3. As you can see here, the second paragraph clearly says this European standard falls under directive so and so, or if the concerned deliverable isn't made under an EU directive, you may use the template in clause CB22 in the Internal Regulations Part 3. Here it is. As you can see, it's shorter, and now the wording is different. This European standard doesn't fall under any directive of the EU. For both templates and for any A deviation, you will have to state the exact identification of the regulation of the relevant country, title, date, and the relevant impacted clause of the standards. In any case, for special national conditions and A deviations alike, please do not forget. Time flies, so please identify any special national conditions and A deviations right at the start of the development of your deliverable, so as to avoid any inconvenience later on. Now, please let me hand the floor to Sophie, who will talk to you about bibliographies and annexes Z's. Please, Sophie.
Thank you, Frédéric. I will now present the part relating to the bibliography. The bibliography is an optional informative element. It shall appear if present after the last annex at the end of the document. The bibliography lists the informative references that are mentioned informatively in the document that have served as background material in its preparation or for further reading. You can also list any other work that you may find useful and interesting for the user of the standard. As regards the presentation of the bibliography, for online references, precise sources shall be given so that they can be more easily be located. The bibliographical entries may be grouped under descriptive headings. These headings shall not be numbered. To help cross-references, bibliographical entries can be introduced with a number in square brackets. This is an example on what a bibliography should look like. Now we are going to look at the Annex ZA, Annex ZZ. If a document is linked to an EU directive regulation, it shall contain an informative Annex ZA for send documents or an informative Annex ZZ for Senelec documents. Please bear in mind that the Annex ZA or ZZ has to be drafted and provided by the TC in charge, not by the consultant. This Annex ZA or ZZ shows the links between the requirements of the EU directive regulation with the clauses, subclauses of the standard. The Annex ZA or ZZ is assessed by a consultant. During the preparation of the document, the consultant assists and advises the technical body regarding the validity of the requirements of the EU directive regulation with the corresponding clauses identified in the Annex ZA or ZZ. We are now coming to a very important point, the drafting of the Annex ZA or ZZ. Depending on the EU directive regulation concerned, the Annex ZA for send documents shall be drafted in accordance with one of the templates given on the send boss in the guidance document How to Draft European Standards for citation in the official journal. Here are the different templates that you can find on the boss for Annex ZA for send documents. Still depending on the EU directive regulation concerned, for Senelec documents, the Annex ZZ shall be drafted according to one of the templates given on the Senelec website. You can find these templates on the Senelec website when following the following path: members and experts, resource area, forms and templates. If you have any questions regarding the links between your draft standard and EU directive or regulations, please contact the CCMC program manager responsible for your TC.
So I think we can draw this webinar to a close, but before you log off, I just have one last thing to say, another special announcement. All that's left for me to say really is that we want to thank you for following our 2016 webinars, and we hope that you found them useful. Don't forget that all the recordings can be found on the Senelec website. Here's the path that you should follow to access those recordings. And like I said before, we will be back next year in 2017. So do get in touch with us for any ideas that you may have for topics that we can cover in next year's series of webinars for standard drafters. Finally, from all of us here at CCMC, I'd like to wish you a very Merry Christmas. Goodbye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye.